Welcome to Charts Today. My name's David Linton, and today's edition for Thursday, the 26th of May, comes to you from London. And interesting, I've been watching the markets and I've been talking a lot about my alerts lately, a service that we're going to start offering to clients early next month. And more and more people have been asking how it all works. So basically, the alerts come in and they're technical analysis alerts. And here we just can see the alerts. So, for example, we've had a short-term upside target on nat gas this morning, and that's come in, and then another one on carbon, and you can go right the way through. TTF's given another new target, and these very short-term targets are on the 1-minute charts, and the longer-term targets, we would just say short-term, are on the 60-minute charts, and that ties in with our time horizon structure, because people always say to me, what's your view of such and such, and I always have to say, what's your time horizon? So very short term, and this is what we put out our daily reports, very short term, we're thinking what's going to happen today, and those daily reports go out. Our energy reports already gone out this morning to clients talking about what's going to happen today. Short term, we put out our weekly report. That's what's going to happen in the coming days, what's going to happen this week, and so we're using normally 60-minute charts there to make those calls. And then the medium and longer term chart reports, we're using weekly and daily charts to make those calls. So those time frames are really quite key, and that's what our monthly report, which will go out to clients at the end of this week, in time for the month ahead. And so this time horizon is really what governs the alerts. And so it's really critical that you understand this concept of time horizon, which is why I always talk about my long-term weekly, my medium-term daily, and my short-term 60-minute chart. And so that also is true of the point and figure box size. So we're talking long-term, medium term and short term, and that's how those time horizons are governed. And so on the 1-minute charts, we're looking at the alerts every minute. On the 60-minute charts, we're looking at the alerts every hour, and on the daily charts, we're looking at the alerts for today. And so that's really quite key. So just remembering that above the cloud we're bullish, below the cloud we're bearish. So in this instance on the dollar index, we're bullish on the long term, bullish on the medium term, but short term we're bearish because we're below the cloud. So that's really significant in understanding that's just how it all works. So if we look at the euro, for example, we see here that we are bearish on that long term, the medium term, but on the short term, and we've just had another target come in now. So we can go and look to those targets because we're just through 9 o'clock. So we're going to get a series of weekly targets, 60-minute targets now, and I can actually just look at those. And I've got these set up on different lists. So this one is a short term, that's it on the 60-minute chart. This is for the 10-year yield on the US, and that's given a new downside target just in the last hour. So that's really quite key. I'm looking at that 60-minute chart, bigger box size. All these templates and everything will be set up in the system for our enterprise users to actually just look at this straight away. And I'm looking at a very short-term list. I'm just covering energy because that's what a lot of our clients will look at. The short-term list is a little bigger. I'm covering some more instruments that I want to look at, and my medium-term list is really my charts today list. So that's how we look at charts, and you can go through and just see these alerts. So here we have a carbon one, Brent crude this morning giving new upside targets. This is short term, that's on the 60-minute, not the 1-minute, and we've got targets to 120 and 125. So that's more what's going to happen in the coming days rather than what's going to happen absolutely today. If I want a short-term target for crude, then I can see here I've got very short-term targets on the 1-minute chart, and all these alerts are just coming in. And the beauty of it is you can just literally fly through these charts and see the alerts that are being given, and then access the live chart. So coming back to what's happening in the market, the euro is looking weaker. Sterling looking a bit stronger. They're back above the cloud on the short-term chart, and we've got this target to 128 that we're looking for. If I had something new happening on sterling, I would get that in my alerts. Taking a look at Bitcoin, we're still stuck below the $30,000 mark. Back below the cloud on that weekly, we deactivated the upside target to 83,000. We've now got targets down to 15,000, 17,000. So not looking good for cryptocurrencies. The S&P 500 index recovered 1% last night. But we are still bearish on that medium and short-term chart, and we are through the cloud there on the weekly with downside targets. So no big changes there. The futures are up slightly today. The VIX volatility sitting in the high 20s, just back below the cloud there. So that's quite key. And if we look at Europe, Ftse futures relatively flat. The DAX in Germany is up 0.6%, just a little bit better short term, but medium term we're still below the cloud. And if we look at Asian markets, Japan was down, the Hang Seng was down, China actually up 0.5%, and the Sensex in India up 0.75%. But again, no markets really making new highs, so we are really suppressed overall, and the Aussie market down 0.7%. Of course, they had the election in Oz over the weekend, and markets have just been a bit jittery on that. We'll look at the energy mix in a minute. We've got wheat down further, down 2%, was down yesterday, down further today. That puts us in short-term bearish mode with downside targets, but the weekly and daily charts are still looking very bullish for a recovery. And of course, we've got this longer-term upside target. So this is the point about time horizon. We're going to rise, but before we rise, we're going to fall. That's what the shorter-term targets tell us. Corn is also down 1.5%, so grains are struggling a bit today. Gold sitting at 1847. We found support at 1800. We're back into that bearish tone there, so that's just interesting. And we've activated a downside target, 2%. Again, big upside targets on gold, short-term targets down. So the whole point about trading and investing is understanding these time horizons. Taking a look at the US 10-year yield, we were talking about that, of course. We've now got some downside targets. Announcements out from the Fed that we will see interest rate rises, but the market taking that in its stride. Taking a look at now the energy mix, we've got Brent crude up 0.6%. We sent out a report out to clients this morning saying we need to break 115. That's the level. We are still bullish, of course. We're above the cloud, looking very strong on the daily for a recovery to higher prices still. US nat gas looking very strong. We've got targets to 925. That was in the alerts. And of course, we can look to this shorter term 1 minute chart. That's what's going on at the moment. We've even got these bigger upside targets. Keep an eye on those charts in your system. I'm running here on Refinitiv Icon. You could be running on Bloomberg, on Trayport, and you can set your alerts based on whatever feed you've got. So it's really, really straightforward. Taking a look at coal, we have pulled back on coal a little bit, just trying for this triangle breakout, struggling there. And if we look at carbon emissions, we see here that we are just really struggling at that 80 euro level. So that's really quite significant there. Can't really just break higher. And we are really now range trading in the 80s. Again, we've got lots of alerts coming out on emissions. All you have to do is look here. We've got another upside target for nat gas that's come out this morning, so that's quite key as well. But looking at the ECX charts, we've got these upside targets just to play for at the moment. If you're trading carbon, that's really quite key. Taking a look back at the rest of the energy mix, gas prices suppressed today. We were neutral out to clients, not liking the fact that we're below the cloud, but we've got targets in both directions. The same with MBP, up 2.5%. We've got another target for nat gas, so that's just come in on my system there, and I can see that's quite key. Looking at German power, we put the report out to clients. We're back to bullish on German power. Found support on the cloud, new upside target to 233 euros, sitting at 231 at the moment. 235 is the level to break, almost certainly will. We've got some bigger upside targets, and keep an eye on our weekly and daily reports for that. So really quite key. Remember, the reports are all here. You can run through the special reports where we cover things that are key that are happening. Energy daily, so you can see today's report there. That's our levels, and you can go right through the report and see. Really quite key. And of course, the beauty is that these reports are all there, so you can just watch the daily change. And there's our weekly report there as well. So quite key. We were bullish German power for the week, and you can just keep an eye on that weekly time frame, remembering what's going to happen for the week. This is what's going to happen for the day. And then if you want to get into our global reports, our monthly reports, what's going to happen for the month ahead. So really quite key there. Lots to take in, but keep an eye out for those targets. That's it for today. Until tomorrow, happy charting. See you then.